Professor Jaeweon Cho. If I can ask you to come up to the stage. You are a professor at Ulsan National Institute of Science and Technology and an environmental and semiotics engineer researcher. You teach science humanities and environmental justice. You have directed the Convergence Research Centre named Science Walden, which is supported by the National Research Foundation of Korea, with convergence of science and arts being focused between 2015 and 21. And you're also one of the founding members of North Korea Water Society under the Ministry of Unification since 2015. And this is what ways to discuss what should be done for Korean reunification and on potential ways to collaborate to solve water issues in both Koreas, between two Koreas, so highly commendable work. So I welcome you to the podium and we look forward to hearing your insights. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jaeweon. I've been working with different areas, for example, humanities, economists, of course, science and scientists and engineer, under the project named Science World, named after Henry David Thoreau, you might know. So we have a problem. So we start with a couple of different problems under the circular economy. So many different persons have a different idea, different concepts. So we would like to see. So what happens? We might be for the future, the new generation, like a digital generation. So we have an idea of my today's the presentation based on those the project. And a lot of different times I've been exposed to the public. So they have a problem. So they would like to know what might actually be generated from these types of projects that supported by the government. So they interested in a different language because they actually sometimes, not total, so do not understand the language from expertise. So we would like to transfer all the language from scientists and engineer into the society, the public. So then we have to understand the word actually, so not the knowledge. And then we have actually come up with a failure. Okay, so this is very difficult to persuade the world to be part of these types of activity. But we have learned a lot of different things. So that's why I would like to introduce. So what I learned, we've been forming from this activity with one material, which is human physics. So we start from this material. After that, we would like to develop many different tools and language to be used for the public. So that's why I would like to use the case study and scenario and happening in the world and around my university. So then we try to convince people to use different money, different concept, a different language as well. So if we use the circular economy with the money of a legal tender, for example, Australian dollar and Korean won and US dollar, we don't have to convince the people. Why? Because the money convince and persuade the people to be part of that, right? So, but if we focus and would like to use material as it is, so that's relatively difficult to convince the people. Because, and then, so that's why we have the object extracted from the material. For example, we have a water on your table, and then we have a bottled water, which is an object and commercialized one. So a little bit the transfer toward the money, toward the commercialized product is relatively easy compared to material, for example, water, but still difficult to convince. But if we have these types of object of water, for example, Evians and in Australia bottled water, but indirectly or even directly connected to the money. Because we have these types of two different aspects of thinking, a way of thinking to consider the material into our activity in the economy. Okay, there are two different models of this one, and then so upon or above which we can build two different types of way of thinking. So let me take this one. This is my opinion. So we prefer to interpret the meaning first with the materials before the communication. So we decide which one is valuable, which one is not actually relatively, and then we move to the conversation with a different language. So we first interpretation of a meaning, followed by communication language. Then the other way, all the way around. So we first, without any consideration of meaning to be determined based on our framework and economic the value in our society, then we just start. We just begin our communications. And then those communication form the meaning accordingly. So then we collect all the value into our some method and bag, and then we would like to discuss the meaning. We evaluate from our activity. So that's the two different things. And then these stories lead us to different types of the infrastructure. I'm not sure. So we have a different infrastructure definition, I believe. And then specifically, I'd like to express my interpretations of infrastructure in terms of knowledge infrastructure. So a long time back, so of course I'm an Oriental person and Asian, but I study and learn a lot of different textbooks about the Rome and Greek. So there are two different ways of infrastructure to be built for communication with the world. The first one, the Rome. The Rome person that built infrastructure through highway and aqueduct, right? And then they would like to reach out of the world, so through road, through the aqueduct with water and many different things like this one. And there are other ways. So for examples, that Greek person. So they build infrastructure of specifically of knowledge using, I believe, Euclidean geometry. So they build the way of thinking, so the structure. So we have consciously and unconsciously even. So we build our knowledge based on Euclidean geometry. And after that, as from a lesson from famous physicist, scientist Einstein, for example, so he introduced a different infrastructure, way of thinking of the geodesic, right? So combine the time and space into some kind of a way of thinking using general relativity theory, for example. And then, based on that, even as an Asian person, so we learn a lot of different times mathematics and physics to think about way of thinking to obtain the knowledge from our experience. Okay, so then we have two different way of thinking in structure. We have two different knowledge infrastructures. So how we can combine this one with my project and your project for our society? So what do you think? Which is a typical example in modern times, modern society knowledge infrastructure? Typical example of those. What is it? Journal, right? So without journal, so do you think we can communicate each other with the knowledge? So, for example, one class as a professor and a lecturer, do you think I can actually promote and persuade the students so hard without any credit? Without credit, do you think you can actually convince the students to study hard? So it is relatively difficult, I believe. Sometimes almost impossible. So without journal, do you think we can communicate? So with the knowledge, even the technology. So that's why I believe some other ways in digital times, on the different digital era. So that's why I propose today to propose a different way of accumulating and communicating based on this knowledge. Okay, so I propose the different money, different communication, the language, which is a token, actually. So the token, I'm not sure you understand at this time, so you have experience to use the token. In my youth times, I used also token. Token is the currency of money with a specific item, for a specific item with a designated person. If you have a certain token, then you have opportunity to use those one for a specific item, okay, because you are eligible to use those tokens. So token we can design. So from my project, Science World project, okay, so we design the token, so-called thesis standard money. So we have a certain the word based on the standard of a unit, the standard of value, because we produce a certain value out of our P, because we donated into specific toilet to be used to transform all the feces from us into some energy and electricity. So we have a value. So we did not translate into certain legal tender types of money and the currency. Instead, we have some word based on those the value standard. So how much we can produce out of our the feces in a day? Can you imagine how much methane? 50 liters approximately from our 7 years experience in average. And then we transform those the methane into electricity. How much can you guess you can get from those activity and the research? 0.5 kilowatt hour. By this much, we can drive a Tesla electric car by about 2.5 kilometers. So we have this value, right? So we don't have to translate into Australian dollar and US dollar and Korean won, Chinese yuan. Then we produce what? The token actually out of this one. So if you donate your poo, and from toilet we have a QR code, and then we stake our cell phone to receive a token of this one, and then use this token and get to some store inside the campus to buy coffee, because those stores acknowledge our valuable activity. So they agree to accept this one. Not total coffee, but limited amount of this one. So we are eligible. Then we are a community, so from our solidarity and so types of that. So that's the why. So we can design. Of course, we respect a circular economy with legal tender. Of course, okay. The framework from UN, the framework from the government of Australia and Korea, of course. But we have a different ways to proceed and to make this consolidated solidarity society with a token. So because we are living in digital society, and we have to transfer all the value into next generation of this digital generation. So that's why I would like to propose this token things. So token can be used for very small family, company, battalion, and solidarity as well. So with the number of this one, then we can what? Communicate, start to communicate with the token, and then we can form knowledge after that. So that's my learning from our the project, and we can discuss this one a little bit later in the panel discussion. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, David, for your contribution, and I really love the poo to energy tokens, and we'll talk about it later, but also I want to know what Sydney Water thinks of that. This is for you to say thank you and congratulations. So again, get your questions ready. I'm sure there's many and you might have some too, Jane.